Alright, welcome to the 13th video in the PHP e-commerce series. My name is Curtis. In this video we're going to actually go ahead and edit our categories. And the thing is that I told you we're going to do that in the last video, but the video got a little bit long because halfway through the video I realized that I hadn't handled what we were going to do with orphaned child elements in the database if we deleted a parent. So we went ahead and took care of that. So I hope you learned a little bit from that, and we're going to dive right in and get started on editing, which is not going to be that difficult. We've already done this basic thing in the brands tutorial here. So right here above this delete category, I'm going to go ahead and add a comment so just we know what's up in our code. So we'll say edit category. And again, this is just going to be a simple if statement, and what we have here is set and not empty. It's just the way I like to do things, because is set and empty are two different things. Is set will actually return true even with the values empty. So I like to do both. I check for both. So you can look up is set and empty functions at php.net and just kind of read about those, and you maybe have an understanding why I do both. But anyhow, we'll do $_get, and this is going to be edit this time. Alright, so if that's set and it's not empty, we're going to edit the category. So let's jump right in, and we'll just say edit ID without a space. And that is, we'll cast that to an integer to make sure we're getting an integer value there. And that's $_get, and we're going to say edit. Alright, then we will go ahead and run that through our sanitize function. Sanitize edit ID. So now we have a clean ID that we've gotten from the URL, and we know it's an integer, so we can't do too much damage there. And this isn't, by the way, you know, I'm doing all my PHP and my HTML and everything on the same page. That's just so that you really understand what's going on. Typically in a project this would be separated out, and you would put your HTML into like a view or some sort of template, and that would be loaded into this. I'm just going to leave it on the same page so that we can all just look as we're building this how it's built. So I know a lot of people are going to give me grief about that, but we're not necessarily doing this as if we're professionals. We are learning. And just know that, you know, if you go to get a job somewhere, you're going to know how this works, but they're not going to organize our code most likely in this fashion. All this PHP will be separated from, you know, all your UI stuff. Okay? And also, most likely, you'll be doing a lot of your database stuff within like models. So like, you know, some of this page would be here to be like your controller, and then you would have your models for dealing with database objects, and then you would have your templates or views. So that's just a lot. That's just like an overview. I just figured I'd throw that in there in case people are like, hey, you don't know what you're doing, you're organizing your code this way. Like, hey, just chill out, man. We're learning and we're building this project. It is going to work. There's nothing wrong with doing this way. If you're working with a group of people, you probably would want to organize it a little bit more and a little differently, but this will work absolutely. So here we go. So anyways, we have our IDs here. And what we want to do is go ahead and return this information. So what we can do is, I'm just going to say edit SQL is equal to, okay, and we'll say select all from categories where ID is equal to, and then in single quotes, we'll put edit ID. And then what we can do is say edit result is equal to, and we can make use of our database object in our query method and pass in that edit SQL. Alright, and then here we're going to go ahead and put category is equal to my SQLi fetch assoc, and we'll pass it in our edit result. So now we have access to this associative array of category, and we can go down here and actually use this information in our form. So if we look at our form, the first thing I want to happen is if this is an edit, say we're editing shoes here, this works fine, but I want my form to actually post back to this URL instead of this. So we just need to do a small check in our form. So let's go ahead and look at that really quick. Here's our form, and right here in our action, it's going to always post that back to categories.php. But if we're editing, we need that the information to post back with that edited information in the URL is still. So what I need to do here is we will open up and echo PHP, and we'll do a ternary operator. There we go. And here we're going to say, just go ahead and set up the skeleton for this, and we'll leave a blank string there. And here, if this is going to return true, what I want to do is add on the question mark edit equals, and then we're going to concatenate on our edit ID that we created at the top of the page. So what are we checking for? Well, this is we're just going to check if is set $_get edit. So if edit is set in the URL as a get variable, we're going to add this onto our action. If it's not set, we're going to add on nothing or just a blank string. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. If I just look at my page source without refreshing, I go to my form, you can see that the action is categories.php, and that wouldn't work. But if I refresh now with this edit here, and let's just refresh this here, you can see now that my form action is categories.php, and it adds that to the URL. So that's exactly what we want. So that's working. So the next thing I wanted to do here is say edit category instead of add a category. So we can actually do a ternary operator there as well. So here in the legend, we can just delete add a, and we'll add on ternary operator, and we're echoing that out, by the way, with this equals. So in here, I want to do our bare bones. By default, it's just going to say add a category, and then edit category if this returns true, and we're going to test for the same exact thing. We're going to say is set, and then $_get. Okay, and what we're going to say inside of there is edit. So refresh the page now. With that in the URL, I have an unexpected error on line 76. And that's because I'm missing a closing paren sign there. Let's go ahead and refresh now. Alright. So now you see it says edit category. If I delete this from the URL, hit enter, it just says add category, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So now edit category is back because I did that. Okay. The next thing that I think we need to do is we need to throw in our values within the text of the category right here. So let's go ahead and do value value equals, and here I'm just going to say category value, and that's actually needs to be again echoed out with PHP. Alright, so that's that. So above this, what we need to do is actually have a check here, and I'm just going to do it, let's see, I'm going to do it in this PHP tag up here, and what we're going to do is do a simple if statement. I'm going to say if is set $_get of edit, okay. If that's set, we are going to actually, before we get going, I don't want to have an undefined variable, so we need to say category underscore value is equal to a blank string here, and then inside of here, if it's set, we want that to be category value equal to, and then remember we have this category associated array, and we could just get the category there. Okay, so now if I refresh the page with that edit equals 6 there, we can see that we're editing pants, and if I just click on dresses or whatever, that's all working. That's exactly what we want, so not a big deal. But if we take that away, we don't get an undefined variable because we did define it right here. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is I want to add an else here, okay? And if the edit isn't set, okay, I want to check if post is set, because I want that value to be there if we throw an error when they submit the form or anything like that. I want them to be able to see what they typed in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do one more check inside of that else statement, and we'll say if, okay, and what we're going to do here is set $_ underscore post, and we don't really need to, we can just check if post is set, okay? So if is set post, well then what do we want to do? Well, we want to let me just check up here real quick. Alright, well, I've made one mistake here. I've called category the same as I did up here. So what we need to actually do probably is just add our edit category there, so that we're not overriding this category here. So if you've caught that when I was adding that and you're like, hey, you're a moron, you are correct, I am a moron, especially today. I don't know what my deal is. I went to bed at 11 last night and I slept until 1 this afternoon. Had a day off work, so wow. Alright, so let's go down here, and we need to clean up a few things because we did that. For one, right here, this needs to be changed to edit category, and down here I think that's fine for now. We might have to fix one more thing. So if post is set, what I want to do is set category value equal to category. Alright, and that's the post, getting the post value up here. So that was set right here, right here. So categories sanitize the post category, we could leave that right here in the delete, simply because it's not going to make it to the rest of the form, so we don't need that information. So that can be overridden in the delete. You could change that if you'd like. I don't think it's going to cause any problems. So let me save that, and let's go ahead and refresh the page. Undefined variable category on line 74. So let's go ahead and look at line 74. Yep. Okay. So that's undefined because we haven't submitted the form, and so that's not a big deal. So let's go right here, and that's process form here. So what we need to do is just above this process form, or anywhere really, we could do here. We just go ahead and do it here, and we say category equals a blank string, and that way we're defining that even when the form hasn't been submitted. So now if I go ahead and as a parent I put in min here, that should give us an error back, but this should stay there now. Okay, see? So now min is there, and we have an error. So that is taking that post data and inserting there. Now if I hit edit, pants is here. If I hit add pants, that's fine. So we haven't done any of our changed any of our validation. The other thing I want to do really quickly is just change this inside this button to edit category, just to make it a little more consistent. So let's go down to our form. I know I'm all over the place, but just try to bear with me here. So right here in this add category under value, I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to echo out a ternary operator. Alright, and we'll do question mark, we'll add this, and by default we're going to say add category, and if it does, we'll just put edit there. Okay, so what am I checking for? Well, is set. Okay, and we're checking is set get edit. Okay, same as above. Just checking if that's set. If it is, we'll hit refresh, and now the button says edit category. If I get rid of this, it'll say add category. Alright, so we are rocking and rolling. The last thing that we need to do with our form anyways is we need to select our parent. So if I edit pants here, I want this to say women because I'm in pants inside of women. So we just need to add a check in our options here. So let's go up to the let's see. We could set that inside of here. We could say if is set edit, we could say parent ID. Do we already have that? Let's see. Edit. Yeah. So we can grab that parent ID right here. We can say parent ID is equal to we had edit category, and we could say parent. Okay, and then let's go ahead and parent ID. You know what? Let's call, instead of parent ID, let's call this parent value. And then right here above by category value, let's do parent value. We'll do an empty string there. Actually, we won't do an empty string. We'll just do 0. That way it selects parent. Okay. And then if post is set, what we want to do is grab parent value. Wow. parent value is equal to parent. I believe that'll be, let's look up here, a process form. Yep, parent set right here. Let's try something real quick. I just want to double check. Yeah. That should be fine just because it's being redefined like after the fact. Anyhow, I think that's going to be just fine. Parent value is equal to parent if the post value is set. So if the form has been submitted, that will be there. Let's make sure we initiate that though. So parent needs to be equal to nothing. Okay, so let's go back now and just refresh the page. So that's fine. If I hit pants here under min, nothing happens because we didn't set that yet. But let's just go ahead and take care of that. So if we go down to form now, this is going to give us a problem right here. Let's just call this post parent, and then down here at the bottom here we can say this is post parent, parent value, blah, blah, blah. Yep. And then what we could do is if the form submitted here, instead of saying parent, we can just say post parent. I know I'm going through and changing a lot, but that's okay. I might be breaking some stuff if I miss something. So right here in this SQL, we need to change that to post parent. It's just, this is why you should never use the same name. You know, you should never use the same name basically for your variables or your. So this is also going to be post parent. Let's see, parent value. Okay. Okay. So here now in our while loops, let's see, where's our form? That's our table. So here's our form. So right here in our options, we want to add a ternary operator here. So we'll just do that really quickly, and then we'll copy and paste it everywhere. So what we can do now is we have access to this parent value. So let's just pop this in here. We're going to add, if this is going to equate to true, what I want to do is say selected equals selected. Okay, so that'll print that to the page, and then what I need to do is if parent value equals, now we need to make it the same as the value here. So if the parent value equals 0, we're going to echo selected right there. Okay, we're going to pretty much do the same thing on these other ones, except for the check is going to have to be this parent ID right here. Okay, so right here in this option, we're going to go ahead and outside of this, we need to say PHP Ternary Operator. Sorry, I'm a little slow today. We'll say here, and let's go ahead and set up my skeleton here. We don't want anything there, so we'll say selected equals selected. Okay. I'm going to add a space right there. Alright, so right here, what we want to do now is if parent value is equal to parent ID. Yeah, that's what we want to do. So now if I refresh the page, you can see that men pants is here. Now if I go to women shoes, women shoes. If I go to boys pants, so you can see that now that's all working. And if I go back here to just the page without any edit, we have that going. So we're almost done now. We just need to go and do a few checks within the processing of the form to make sure that we just have to change a few statements, whether we're inserting into the database or editing the database, and do something else with our error checking. Okay, so let's go ahead, and right here in this process form, we can do a few things. We still want the category, if the category is left blank, we're still going to add that to the errors. Now, we do, however, need to run a different query if we're editing. So basically, underneath this one, what we're going to do is put an if statement, and we're just going to do if is set $_get. So if edit, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to redefine this SQL form, and what we want to do is do the same thing, except for we want to say select all from categories where category equals category and could have copied this because all of it's the same, so we're going to add one more check in here, and post parent is equal to parent. Alright, and we'll do one more, and now what we need to do is check if the ID is equal to the ID of the edit ID. So let's see, post parent. So we have access to inside this edit here, we have the edit category. So what we can do now is say if and the ID is not equal to edit. I just need to go ahead and do the I need to set this ID here. So I'm just going to say ID equals edit category of ID, and then here I can just say ID. So what we're doing here is this edit category is being set right here. This is an associative array, so it's going to return the ID of that row and set it equal to ID. So what I want to make sure is for this error, we're checking if it already exists in the database, and if it is, we want to select from categories where category equals where the category equals the category that we're posting, and the parent is equal to our posted our post parent from our form. But we also want to check, does the ID not equal the ID of this? Because if we don't have this check on there, we can't update that ID. Okay, so I know that we did the same thing in the brands, and maybe I explained it a little better in that videos, so hopefully that makes sense. But it's still going to run that now here in this count, and it'll add this. If count is greater than 0, it'll add this to the database, or it'll add it to the page. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and now refresh the page, and let's try to edit women's shirts, and let's just make that blank, and we should get an error. The category cannot be left blank. Okay, then it populates that back with shirts. And then if I try to add one that already exists under women's, say pants, it should give us an error. Pants already exist, please choose a new category. Perfect. Let's try then under boys to add dresses, okay? Because I don't know, but let's just actually let's just change shirts here. If I try to do dresses, this should work. Okay, and it did. It added it to the database. So let's delete that because we actually want to update. So that's the last thing we didn't do, was actually update this right here, this update SQL. Right now it's insert into, and what we need to do is update that. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is add an if, and we're just going to say is set $_get edit. So if we're editing, what do we want to do? Well, we need to change that update SQL statement. Okay, and we're not going to do an insert if the values and everything work out and we don't have any errors. We want to update. Okay, so what we're going to do is change that to update categories, and then set, and then we're going to do two here. We have to set category equal to category, and then we have to do a comma and say parent equal to post parent, and then we'll give it a condition where ID is equal to edit ID. Okay, so instead of inserting it into the database, it's going to actually update the category and the parent. So if I save that now, refresh the page, so now if I choose to edit the boys' shirts, and first of all, if I try to add pants, we already have that under boys, so I should get an error. Yep, pants already exist. So let's say I spelled it wrong, or I just want to get rid of the S there, and I edit that. Now we just have shirt here, and that works fine. If I go back, I can add the S back, and it's not actually adding that to the database, it's simply updating the database here. But let's try to add now, let's add one that doesn't exist, so make sure that works. Under boys, we don't have shoes, so let's add shoes, add category, so that still works. Let's just double check, make sure we didn't break anything here. Let's try to add men under parent. Okay, yep, men already exist, so that's working just fine. So now if I go back to the front of the website, for some reason we have pants here, so we need to check that out. But now under boys we have shirts, pants, shoes, and everything's updated. But let's just check out why we have this going on. So let's go back to the admin. I'm sure I made a mistake when yeah, so this pants here is a parent element, so I'll delete that. Let's add one more, make sure I haven't broken anything. Under girls I want to add pants because that doesn't exist at the moment. Hit add category. So now under girls we have pants. So if I go back to the front of the site, under girls we now have pants. Okay, so you can see that this menu is updated based upon what we do in our categories page here. Alright, so I hope that was useful. I'm sorry I was a little scatterbrained today. Just go back and rewatch it. You'll understand why I went back and changed some of the variable names, because I was trying to I was using the same exact variable names, like parent. You can't use that twice. I was using it in a while loop to as an associative array, and then I was setting parent as a variable. So I just changed that to post parent, things like that. Just keep everything, your variable names and everything should be a little more descriptive anyway. So just try to get in the habit of naming things, so when you're reading the code, you know exactly what it's doing, and two, you don't have the problem of trying to use the same exact variable later. I'm just lazy and I don't like to type a lot, so a lot of times I mess up by using the same variable names. Don't get into that habit as I have. Also, don't use variable names and stuff like X and things that when other people read your code, you don't really know what you're doing there unless you're maybe looping and it's very evident that you're using like a single letter variable for like an iterator or something such as I. But something like a category, you want to be really descriptive on your variable names. So that's a lesson learned on top of that. So anyways, if you've enjoyed this series up to this point, please comment, like, and subscribe and share. This channel is going to be a lot more dedicated to doing full projects. I'm probably going to throw in some quick tips and tricks here and there in between the videos, because these are going to take a long time to finish a project. But anyways, I will see you in the next video. And I think in the next video what we're going to do is go ahead and add our, we'll start adding our products and editing products, which will be the same pretty much process that we've done with brands and categories. I'll be a little more involved. It might end up being 3 or 4 videos long, but then we'll be able to add products, upload images and everything like that right from the back end of the site. So hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.